Swadika, good morning and welcome to Newsline. I'm Cholapansa Narula. Thank you very much for joining us. It's the 2nd of April 2014. Let's take a look at today's headlines. On the occasion of the Civil Servants' Day on April 1st, 2014, His Majesty the King has given an address calling on state officials to adhere to the practices of good governance and to perform their duties to the best of their ability. In part of the royal message issued by the Glaikangwon Palace, His Majesty said, all work carried out by civil servants is related to the interest of the country and the people. Civil servants should be shining examples of integrity, working selflessly for the public good. They must make decisions that are fair and objective in nature, based on sound evidence designed to serve the best interests of the country. Their decisions and actions affect the well-being of the nation's people. Thailand celebrates Civil Service Day on April 1st every year, with various government agencies taking turns hosting a Civil Service Day fair on an annual basis. In breaking news, a major earthquake of magnitude 8 struck off the coast of Chile this morning, triggering a tsunami that hit the northern part of the country and a tsunami warning for all of South and Central America's Pacific coast. The U.S. Geological Survey said the quake was very shallow, only 10 kilometers below the seabed, and struck about 6:46 p.m. local time, 99 kilometers northwest of the mining port of Iquique that is near the Peruvian border. The Chilean Navy said the first tsunami wave had hit the coast within 45 minutes of the quake, and it actually triggered landslides within the area as well, blocking roads and highways. The earthquake sparked a tsunami warning for all of the South and Central America's Pacific coast. As of now, authorities in Peru started evacuating communities in the southern coastal region. Moving on, Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has urged civil servants nationwide to stay neutral towards political issues. On the occasion of the National Civil Servant Day, the Prime Minister yesterday posted on her Facebook expressing her gratitude to all civil servants for doing their best to serve the citizens of Thailand everywhere. According to her message, the civil servants should be proud and realize the importance of themselves, for they have contributed to the well-being of their fellow countrymen, adding that officials are vital to the nation's development. She also underlined the need for the civil servants to maintain the neutrality when it comes to politics, adding that they should be able to perform their duties regardless of their political orientation while upholding the democracy under constitutional monarchy, morale, law and order. The Prime Minister also suggested that authorities keep improving themselves in this ever-changing world to better serve the people and prove they are worth their titles. Prime Minister Yingluck finally urged civil servants to implement the work ethics given by His Majesty the King during his speech yesterday. And Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra also expressed her concerns over a mass rally on April 5th and instructed authorities to provide security for all groups equally. Deputy spokesperson of the government, Lieutenant Sunisa Lerpakawat, said the Premier had assigned Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister Surapong Towichakchaikun to collaborate with Director for the Centre of Administration of Peace and Order, or CAPO, Chalerm Yubamrung, on measures to tackle political protest. Prime Minister Yingluck also urged all ministers to make sure that government buildings and staff were safe and no damage took place. Regarding the mass rally by the United Front for Democracy Against Dictatorship this Saturday, the Prime Minister ordered CAPO to prevent confrontation between different groups of protesters and called on government officers to treat all groups fairly and equally. Meanwhile, the Foreign Affairs Minister informed the Cabinet that more than 100,000 demonstrators were expected to join the rally this April 5th by the UDD, and that the CAPO would closely monitor the situation. The National Anti-Corruption Commission has resolved to allow Prime Minister Yingluck to bring in 3 witnesses for the NACC to question in the rice mortgage corruption case out of 11 witnesses that were presented. Prime Minister Yingluck asserted on Tuesday she needed to request that more witnesses be brought in because there was involvement from many agencies in the rice pledging program, that they could provide additional information from the side of the accused to the NACC. She said the request was a usual one in justice proceedings, and she hoped the NACC would consider the case fairly and independently after listening to information from all aspects. According to NACC Commissioner Prasad Pong Siwapai, the 3 witnesses who will provide witness accounts to the Commission include Commerce Minister Niwatthamrong Bunsongpaisan, Deputy Commerce Minister Yanyong Phongrat, and also Finance Minister Kitirat Naranong. The Commission deemed that the remaining witnesses need not make additional accounts to the NACC. Meanwhile, the NACC has concluded that former Parliament President Somsak Yetsuranon did commit malfeasance in his attempt to push forward the Charter Amendment Bill concerning the Senate's composition. NACC Commissioner and spokesperson Vicha Mahakun stated that the Commission had completed its deliberation of the case lodged against Mr. Somsak, who was serving as Parliament President when the Constitutional Amendment Bill seeking to change the origin of senators was passed. Mr. Vicha disclosed that Mr. Somsak was found to have used his power in an unconstitutional fashion. As clarified by the NACC, the then Parliament President brought to the parliamentarians' consideration a bill draft that was a different version from that tendered earlier by former Pheu Thai MP Udomde Ratanasathian. Such action was considered a deliberate attempt to mislead Parliament, as members who were voting for the bill draft were never informed that its content had undergone revisions. Moreover, Mr. Somsak was alleged to have put the consideration of the bill on the fast track. The first reading of the bill was cut short, leaving a number of MPs and senators without a chance to present their debates. Mr. Somsak's violation of the Constitution are in accord with Sections 3, 125 and 291. The matter will be forwarded to the Senate to decide on his dismissal from office. In the meantime, a criminal action is also being taken against him. A caravan of the Student and People Network for Thailand's Reform, or STR, came under attack by unknown gunmen yesterday afternoon, resulting in 4 injuries and 1 death. At around 2:44 p.m. yesterday, supporters of the STR were caught in a shooting spree while parading back to the main rally site at the government house. The group earlier took part in a protest activity at the government complex on Jang Wattanat Road. Based on initial reports, 5 people, 3 males and 2 females, were hit by bullets and were taken to hospital immediately. One of the men, identified as STR security guard Wasan Kamwong, aged 52, has succumbed to his injury at Ramathipadi Hospital. Authorities rushed to inspect the crime scene, which is located on the Jang Watthana Expressway. As a consequence, the Erawan Emergency Medical Service Centre concluded that the political death toll in Thailand since November 30th of last year had moved up to 21, and the number of people injured also increased to 734. The United Front for Democracy Against Dictatorship has unveiled a plan to hold a mass rally on Aksa Road in the Puttamonthon area this April 5th, urging supporters to be prepared to stay overnight. Following the recent announcement that the UDD would stage a mass gathering this Saturday, UDD Chairman Chatupan Prompan has spelled out more details, saying the rendezvous for the activity would be Aksa Road, which links Puttamonthon 3 and 4 in Bangkok's westernmost district of Tawi Wattana. The UDD chairman also disclosed that the rally would continue for 2 to 3 consecutive days. He thus encouraged participants to have all their personal belongings ready for overnight stays. As the UDD rally on April 5 would coincide with that of the Anti-Government People's Democratic Reform Committee, Mr. Chatupan expressed confidence that at least 500,000 people would come out to support the UDD, which would be more than the head count at the PDRC's camp on the same day. And that's it for now. We'll take a short break. Up next, the central bank believes the Thai economy will bounce back in the second quarter. We'll return with more on that. Stay with us.
เมื่อมนุษย์ทำลายสมดุลทางธรรมชาติและมนุษย์ก็เป็นผู้ประสบภัยพิบัติจากธรรมชาติร่วมสร้างอนาคตลดภัยพิบัติระดมพลังพลิกฟื้นคืนผืนป่าในทุกชุมชนทั่วประเทศ
Moving forward to the establishment of ASEAN Community in 2015. The Public Relations Department has launched a 24-hour English language satellite TV channel, NBT World. Broadcast in C-band format, viewers can stay up to date on what's going on in Thailand and countries countries in the ASEAN region. NBT World can be watched by GMMZ set-top box on channel 194 and PSI set-top box on channel 198. NBT World, Voice of ASEAN Community.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsline. The Ministry of Commerce has revealed that the Consumer Price Index rose by 2.11% in March due to increases in prices of food and energy, resulting in the index for the first quarter of the year rising by 2%. Core CPI stood at 104.22, increasing by 1.31% from March 2013 and 0.08% from February 2014. In all, core CPI rose by 1.19% in the first quarter this year. Kun Ampawan Pichalai, Commerce Ministry advisor, explained that the higher raw material cost had pushed up the prices of ready-made food. Pork price had also risen due to the very hot weather, causing pigs to eat less and grow more slowly. She noted, however, that consumer spending was still at a good and stable level. As for the inflation rate, the Ministry of Commerce expects 2014 inflation to be between 2 and 2.8%. Ms. Ampawan elaborated that the 0.45% rise of the sub-index for food and non-alcoholic drinks can be attributed to the higher prices of lime, Chinese kale, Napa cabbage, mandarin orange, coconuts and pineapples. Central Bank says the Thai economy should bounce back in the second quarter when the new government can be finalized. Kun Methi Supapong, the Senior Director of the BOT's Macroeconomic and Monetary Policy Office, reported that the country's economy and financial status saw a continuous shrinkage in the month of February due to lower household and business spending, resulting in a negative 2.5% in private consumption, a negative 7.7% in investments of the private sector, and as high as a negative 18.9% in the country's imports. Compared to the fourth quarter of 2013, economic growth in the first quarter of this year should see a decline. Kun Methi said that the BOT expected a recovery in the second quarter of the year if a new government can be formed, so that mega projects could be pushed forward in order to boost confidence in both the investment and tourism sectors. The Thai National Shippers Council, or TNSC, is concerned that the country's export will not reach its projected growth target due to the ongoing political conflict. Kun Nopporn Thepsittha, chairman of the TNSC, revealed that Thailand's exports in February represented a 2.43% increase and that the export value was at $18 billion. Due to the positive figure, he said the TNSC would maintain this year's export growth target at 5%. However, he said the exporters are concerned that the 5% growth target cannot be achieved as a result of the country's prolonged political conflict. The chairman also suggested possible solutions by recommending the government to focus more on border trade with neighboring countries, adding that such a move would have a long-term positive effect on the export sector. He also mentioned some risks that Thai exporters could be facing, such as declining investments and imports. Thai shares finished up 0.8% at 1,387.48 points, the highest close since November 20th. Helped by selective buying in banking shares such as Kasikorn Bank in anticipation of strong earnings for the quarter ending March 31st, or the first quarter of 2014. The market was nearly flat in early trade due to losses in large caps such as Siam Cement and Shincorp, which traded ex-dividend. The political situation remained tense after an anti-government demonstrator was shot dead and 4 others injured on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Indonesian shares jumped 2.2% yesterday, outperforming others in Southeast Asia as a better-than-expected monthly trade surplus bolstered sentiment, boosting demand for cyclical stocks, including banking and consumer shares. Heavy buying in shares of Bank Mandiri, Bank Rakyat Indonesia, and Astra International sent the benchmark Jakarta's composite index to 4,873.93 points at the close, and that's the highest since March 17th. And next, let's have a look at the exchange rates and commodity prices.
นุษย์ทำลายสมดุลทางธรรมชาติและมนุษย์ก็เป็นผู้ประสบภัยพิบัติจากธรรมชาติร่วมสร้างอนาคตลดภัยพิบัติระดมพลังพลิกฟื้นคืนผืนป่าในทุกชุมชนทั่วประเทศ
Moving forward to the establishment of ASEAN Community in 2015. The Public Relations Department has launched a 24-hour English language satellite TV channel, NBT World. Broadcast in C-band format, viewers can stay up to date on what's going on in Thailand and countries in the ASEAN region. NBT World can be watched by GMM-Z set-top box on channel 194 and PSI set-top box on channel 198. NBT World, Voice of ASEAN Community.
Welcome back. Let's have a look at the world news now. The European Union's economy chief dismissed on April 1st the possibility of further economic sanctions against Russia unless it takes more action. Speaking at a meeting of European finance ministers in Athens, Olli Rehn also said the European Union will make a swift payment of financial aid to Ukraine as Kiev faces a price hike on the gas that it buys from Russia following its attempt to resist interference from Moscow. But while he underscored Brussels' desire to back Ukraine, he played down the idea of stiffer penalties on Russia following its annexation of the Ukraine's strategically important Crimea, saying Russia could face economic recession if tension prevails. Eurogroup President Jeroen Dijsselbloem said it was in everyone's interest to reduce tensions and not add stress to economies. So far, the US and EU have imposed personal sanctions against Russian and Crimean officials involved in the seizure of the peninsula, and Washington has slapped visa bans and asset freezes on senior business figures close to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Manuel Valls took up the post of Prime Minister under French President François Hollande, replacing Jean-Marc Ayrault, who resigned in the wake of the ruling socialist rout in local elections at the weekend. The 51-year-old centrist Valls, who has been Interior Minister since 2012, took up his post in the 18th century Matignon mansion in central Paris, which serves as the Prime Minister's office after a brief handover ceremony with the departing Ayrault. Polls have regularly shown Valls, who has talked tough on law and order, to be France's most popular minister. His centrist views make him more controversial with the left wing of the Socialist Party. However, Valls, who friends say harbours his own presidential ambitions, is expected to present a slimmed-down government team before a long travels to a EU-Africa summit in Brussels late today. A New Zealand aircraft, a P-3 Orion, hunted for missing Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 in the southern Indian Ocean, west of Perth. A film crew on board the flight showed the crew search from the P-3 Orion's takeoff, the search itself and the aircraft's return to the Royal Australian Air Force's Pearce Base north of Perth. 9 ships and 10 aircraft resumed the hunt for wreckage from MH370 on Tuesday, hoping to recover more than fishing gear and flotsam found since Australian authorities moved the search 1,100 kilometres north after new analysis of radar and satellite data. In the video footage of the New Zealand Air Force's search on Tuesday, the crew are seen dropping markers from the plane as they spotted potential debris that turned out to be just fishing nets. Lufthansa says it has cancelled 3,800 flights between April 2 till the 4th, or virtually all of its operations, due to a planned walkout by pilots in what will be one of the biggest strikes ever to hit the German airline. Vereinigung Cockpit, the union representing most of Lufthansa's 5,400 pilots, last week said it was calling for a 3-day strike that will begin today, April 2nd, over plans by Germany's largest airline to scrap an early retirement deal. The Lufthansa units affected by the strikes would normally operate around 4,300 flights over the 3 days, but the walkout means it will be able to operate just 500 short and long-haul flights during the 3-day period. The strike affects flights run by its Lufthansa brand as well as its Germanwings low-cost unit, and it has also cancelled 23 out of a planned 31 Lufthansa cargo flights between the strike period, that is. But the airline says it is well prepared and is doing all it can to inform customers about their options. They hold the distinction of several important firsts. Scientists believe that they are the first backbone animals to evolve powered flight and that they are the only vertebrates to develop this ability besides birds and bats. They don't belong to the dinosaur family but are considered close relatives and live in the same era. These ancient aviators are called the petrosaurs. While these winged reptiles are believed to have become extinct 66 million years ago, they are now getting a new lease of life at New York's American Museum of Natural History, where an intriguing exhibition focuses on their life and history and recreates them in vivid color and detail. During the preview, children on a school tour giggle as they get the opportunity to pilot 2 different species of petrosaurs in an interactive exhibit. Animation video depicts these giants flying over prehistoric landscapes while hunting for fish and cicadas. The exhibition includes rare petrosaur fossils and casts from countries such as Brazil, Romania and China. A quick glance at the ceiling of the exhibition hall reveals several imposing life-size models. And that's it for today's edition of Newsline. Thank you very much for joining. If you do have any suggestions or comments, please write to us. The email address is newsline.nbt@gmail.com. Also reminding you that you can follow us on Facebook. Just simply type in NNT. And we do have a website as well, that is thainews.prd.go.th/newseng. You can stay up to date on news today at the top of every hour, every day. Before we say goodbye today, we'll take you to Chile, where people living along the coastline are now evacuating after an earthquake of magnitude 8 has triggered a 2-meter-high tsunami. We hope everyone there will be safe. I'm Cholapansa Narula. See you next time. Sawasdee ka.